Are you confident that your self-managed super fund is on the right track? Access the important resources you need on the SMSF Association Trustee Knowledge Centre. Make informed decisions for your retirement. Visit trustees.smsfassociation.com.
The Informed Investor, thanks to Century 21. Smarter, bolder, faster. Go to century21.com.au.
And as I said, I've just come back from a couple of days on the Sunshine Coast. I've got to tell you, Charles Tarby, Chairman of Century 21 Australasia, there's Century 21 offices everywhere.
Oh, we're doing pretty well up on the Sunshine Coast, but, you know, a lot of Melbourne people, that's their second place, that's their second home, Steve.
What a booming area that is. I mean, you've got a Century 21 office just almost on Hastings Street. It's just in that road that leads up out of Hastings Street. So that's in a prime spot.
Yeah, look, the gentlemen up there are doing exceptionally well. They've opened their fifth office actually up through that area, so that's a massive growth area right up across the top of the Sunshine Coast. And of course, there are offices down in Buderim, down in Maroochydore, down in Caloundra. So the whole area is covered very well. But you know, I think, Steve, over the years, you and I have spoken about that area as being a massive growth area for a number of reasons, and it's continuing. It's almost as though it's a marketplace unto its own, and the rest of the country is doing what it's doing.
I don't know very much about the public transport there because I had a little rental car, but they seem to, in terms of infrastructure, have got ahead of the game a little bit. The road system seems to work. I mean, I know coming out of living in Sydney or living in Melbourne, even living in Brisbane, you might, you do get used to being stuck in traffic. But up there, it all seems to move pretty well.
It does, but it also has a significantly different number of lifestyle opportunities too. And that's the thing I like about it. You can go into different parts of the coast if you want to pay a little bit more money for something and pay a little bit more for a meal and a bottle of wine. You can do that. It caters for all levels.
So you're bullish on the area, and in terms of a place to go and retire to, it's not a bad option, is it?
No, I've been bullish about it for a while, and the airport's upgraded, hospitals are being upgraded. There's a whole city centre there that is being set up as a totally new way of doing commercial business in terms of the infrastructure. That's a great new concept just for the coast alone, so that's well underway. And I also think it's not that far north of Brisbane, but so you can get into the capital city if you need to very quickly, but still be well away from the action.
And they were ahead of the game in terms of creating brand new communities and building them from the ground up. I mean, I went to Noosa Springs, I went to Twin Waters, I went to a number of those developments that have been there for some time, and they all seem to be thriving.
Yeah, you didn't stop at the Palmer Resort anywhere there by any chance?
No, I avoided Clive's place because I'm not sure. Last time I went there, they threatened to throw us off the course. So I didn't go to Clive's. He's buggered that up completely, which is really sad because Coolum was a very good resort.
It was. I stayed there with my family a couple of times. The last time I went back, I bumped into Clive Palmer himself and a couple of the chaps I was with having a nice little chat to him. Very vocal gentleman. But it is an interesting place, that whole resort there where he did jump in. It was a beautiful spot, but I haven't been back since.
No, and I know a lot of people who haven't been back since. Speaking of politicians, Federal Labor are going to stick to their pledge about negative gearing. What do you think this is going to do to the market?
I saw that again, and I saw the news about the fact that they think it might be the right time to do it, because the market's being belted around through the banking Royal Commission investigation, the banking, and people might not notice the change. I have to tell you, Steve, just the Royal Commission into banking has impacted on the market so severely. If negative gearing was removed now, I don't know what it would do for investors. And a lot of people don't get the fact that most of the investors aren't people, that are out there with a significant amount of money. We're talking about individuals in the public service, people, police people, nurses that have got investment properties. You're not going after the rich when you're removing negative gearing, and this is the thing that scares me the most about this conversation.
Yeah, and it puts a negative pull right across the market. When you add to that the fact the banks are being much tougher on what they're going to lend to people, clearance rates were again, I think, on the weekend down in Sydney and in Melbourne were down around the 52, 56%.
Yep.
So,
Look, Steve, they introduced negative gearing for a reason. It happened some time back, and it was helping the housing industry, and they want to take it away. Look, they introduced payroll tax, land tax years ago, but they haven't taken that away. And I don't know why they want to go in and touch something like this that could be so sensitive. There are so many other areas they can look at. This particular one does concern me because it'll impact on so many people. And we already have enough enough negative in that sector right now.
so what's selling still? Property at the top end, property in the middle, property at the bottom?
Yeah, property at the top end's doing pretty well. Property in the middle, $1 to $2 million. They're not rushing to auction. People are going to auctions, but they're not bidding as furiously. There are many more agents suggesting to sellers that the properties be sold before auction if possible. So if they get an offer, they'll take it. And, I'm going through that process at the moment with my daughter. She's out looking, and the agent said, "Oh, look, if you make an offer, you can buy it before auction," which indicated and she knew straight away it indicated they don't have enough interest to go to auction. So I think there's a big change in that, whereas you might have found 10 or 20 or 30 people turning up to auction to bid on these properties. That's not the case anymore. The clearance rates are still reasonable, but the market is back in real estate, and that's just the standard process of buying and selling and negotiating, whereas what we were in last year was people who were selling and there was no negotiating. You either paid the price or you didn't get an opportunity at all.
So if you're a vendor selling and someone's offering near to what you think you might get, would you take it?
Yeah, I'd consider it very, very strongly, particularly in the marketplace, because you could go to auction, Steve, and you might find yourself actually affecting yourself detrimentally because you might show your hand, and people who might have been interested will pull back, and you may get a lower offer than what you might have got before auction. So you've got to really work with your agent on that one, and your agent's got to understand what's out there, and you've got to listen very closely to what the agent's telling you.
Great advice as usual, Charles. Thank you very much, mate. You have a good week. We'll talk to you next
Thank
Monday
you.
night. Charles Tarbey, who is the chairman of Century 21 Australasia, with some brilliant advice on real estate.